You do not lose your life because of one big event. You lose it little by little, in the moments when you allow your emotions to be spent on things unworthy of you. If you have ever wondered why you are exhausted, why your mind feels weaker, why no matter how hard you try, you still cannot move forward, then this is the video you must watch until the end. Because right here, you will see a truth no one has ever told you. The truth about where your energy has been leaking and how to reclaim the entire mental strength you have silently lost over the years. People often believe they lose their lives because of big events, but the truth lies in the tiny things they unconsciously do every single day. Every emotion you throw out is a coin of energy you will never get back. Every time you overreact to a meaningless comment, you spend another portion of your mental strength. Every unnecessary argument is an expense that weakens your mind in ways you do not notice. When you observe life closely, you will realize that most exhaustion does not come from work or responsibilities, but from the moments when you let your emotions get pulled away by things unworthy of your attention. An unpleasant look from a stranger can bother you all day. A message left unread can drain you with endless overthinking. A passing criticism can lower your energy more than an entire week of hard work. These are the expenses you never record, yet they quietly subtract from your inner power account every single day. When you keep reacting to everything around you, you become someone who spends money without ever checking their balance. You keep spending because you think you still have plenty. You keep reacting because you assume you are strong. Until one day you wake up in a state of exhaustion, unable to understand why your mind feels so weak that it cannot even focus on what matters. A life does not weaken because of one big blow, but because of hundreds of tiny cuts. Every person unworthy of your arguments, every negative piece of information you let into your mind, every emotion you waste on someone else's drama, these things accumulate into a mental collapse you mistakenly believe is random. When you constantly allow the world to spend your emotions, you lose the most precious thing without realizing it. Every time you feel angry, irritated, resentful, or anxious, your mind pays a price. And that price accumulates into a decline in your life energy. The truth most people refuse to face is that you are not tired because life is too heavy. You are tired because you spend emotional energy on everything, everywhere, and everyone without filtering. You get pulled into other people's stories. You react to things irrelevant to your future. You fight battles that bring you no outcome at all. And then you wonder why you have no strength left to pursue your most important goals. The first collision with the truth begins here. Your life does not weaken because you lack ability, but because you continuously allow your emotions to be used in the wrong places. When you realize this, you step into the first moment of reclaiming your inner sovereignty and begin to see what you have been losing. To move forward, you must stop spending emotional energy unconsciously, starting from this very moment. Part 1. Emotional spending and the first collision with truth. People often believe they lose their lives because of big events. But the truth lies in the tiny things they unconsciously do every single day. Every emotion you throw out is a coin of energy you will never get back. Every time you overreact to a meaningless comment, you spend another portion of your mental strength. Every unnecessary argument is an expense that weakens your mind in ways you do not notice. When you observe life closely, you will realize that most exhaustion does not come from work or responsibilities, but from the moments when you let your emotions get pulled away by things unworthy of your attention. An unpleasant look from a stranger can bother you all day. A message left unread can drain you with endless overthinking. A passing criticism can lower your energy more than an entire week of hard work. These are the expenses you never record, yet they quietly subtract from your inner power account every single day. When you keep reacting to everything around you, you become someone who spends money without ever checking their balance. You keep spending because you think you still have plenty. You keep reacting because you assume you are strong. Until one day, you wake up in a state of exhaustion, unable to understand why your mind feels so weak that it cannot even focus on what matters. A life does not weaken because of one big blow, but because of hundreds of tiny cuts. Every person unworthy of your arguments, every negative piece of information you let into your mind, every emotion you waste on someone else's drama. These things accumulate into a mental collapse you mistakenly believe is random. When you constantly allow the world to spend your emotions, you lose the most precious thing without realizing it. Every time you feel angry, irritated, resentful, or anxious, your mind pays a price. And that price accumulates into a decline in your life energy. The truth most people refuse to face is that you are not tired because life is too heavy. You are tired because you spend emotional energy on everything, everywhere, and everyone without filtering. You get pulled into other people's stories. You react to things irrelevant to your future. You fight battles that bring you no outcome at all. And then you wonder why you have no strength left to pursue your most important goals. The first collision with the truth begins here. Your life does not weaken because you lack ability, but because you continuously allow your emotions to be used in the wrong places. When you realize this, you step into the first moment of reclaiming your inner sovereignty and begin to see what you have been losing. To move forward, you must stop spending emotional energy unconsciously, starting from this very moment. Humans do not only drain their energy through unconscious reactions, but also through a more subtle mechanism. It is the addiction to drama. When you observe your own behavior, you will notice there are moments when you clearly know a story has nothing to do with you, yet you still want to watch it until the end. You know an argument brings no benefit, yet you join just to feel present. You know a relationship has run out of value, yet you hold on because you fear emptiness. Drama in life is not always loud. Real drama is the mild emotional stimulation repeated so many times that you cannot escape it. When you are drawn to other people's stories, you burn mental energy on things that do not build the foundation of your future. A person addicted to drama does not always love chaos. They are addicted to the feeling of stimulation. Drama is like emotional refined sugar. It gives you a quick high and leaves behind long-lasting fatigue. This mechanism operates quietly in modern life. Social media exposes you to drama more often, faster, and easier. A single swipe is enough to pull your mind into a string of chaotic stories that activate your nervous system. You see people arguing. You see someone being attacked. You see someone showing off. All of these form an emotional mixture that makes you lose the ability to distinguish what is your business and what you are merely witnessing. When exposed to drama too often, you begin to form a psychological pattern that you only exist when there is something to react to. You do not know how to live in quiet because quiet makes you feel like life is stopping. You worry when there is nothing to worry about. You feel uneasy when there is no problem to solve. You are so used to chaotic rhythms that you treat chaos as normal. When peace arrives, you feel unfamiliar with it and unconsciously create new drama to fill the gap. A person addicted to drama rarely admits they are addicted. They only feel that days pass too quickly, the mind is too tired, and emotions are too hard to control. They do not understand that the cause does not lie in life itself. The cause lies in the constant desire for emotional stimulation. Every time you engage in a story that is not yours, you give away a portion of your inner strength that should have been reserved for more important things. Every time you listen to stories that weigh you down, you load your mind with unnecessary burden. Every time you hear someone else's drama, you feed your brain with images, thoughts, and emotions that push your nervous system into overload. There is a deeper reason why humans get addicted to drama. It is the need to be noticed. When people do not feel valuable enough, they tend to affirm themselves by participating in other people's stories. You want to be acknowledged, you want to be seen, you want to feel important. Drama gives you this feeling quickly because it creates a context where everyone reacts and you get the chance to prove yourself. However, the sense of importance born from drama is unsustainable. It is like borrowing light from someone else's fire to brighten your own dark room. That light is not yours, and when it fades, you return to the original emptiness. You want to be noticed, but you choose the easiest way by sticking to other people's stories. You want recognition, but you choose noise instead of building real inner value. You want to feel alive, but you trade it with your own energy. When you are addicted to drama, you let your emotions be manipulated by the rhythm of the external world. You live in reaction mode rather than having the ability to choose. Whatever others say, you react. Whatever happens in the world, you must know. Whatever problem someone has, you must intervene. This way of living makes you no longer own your life. You only own scattered emotional fragments taken from countless stories that do not belong to you. When you constantly seek drama, you distance yourself from your true self. You no longer hear the voice within. You no longer know what you need. You no longer question whether what you are spending energy on is truly worthy. You become exhausted from carrying too many stories, too many emotions, too many pressures that are not yours. That is why people addicted to drama often feel life passing without depth. They have many events but little meaning, many stories but no soul, many emotions but no inner strength. To escape this spiral, you must realize that quiet is not a sign of emptiness. Quiet is where energy is restored. Quiet gives you the ability to see clearly what belongs to you and what is merely the noise of the world. Quiet helps you distinguish between emotional stimulation and true value. When you begin cutting out irrelevant stories, your mind becomes clearer. When you withdraw energy from battles that are not yours, you become stronger. When you stop seeking attention through drama, you begin building value from within. And when you are no longer addicted to chaos, you enter the life of someone with real inner power. A life that does not need noise to prove existence. A life that does not need drama to feel important. A life where your energy is preserved for steps that carry long-term meaning. This is the moment you must look directly at yourself. Not everything dragging you down is something bad. Some things are what you are clinging to, and when you release them, you reclaim not only your energy, but also your entire life. Every time you let your emotions get pulled away by things unworthy of your attention, you do not just lose a few minutes of calm, you trade away a part of your life force. The price of unconscious reactions never shows up immediately. It is not like a bill that appears in front of you so you can see you are overspending. That price arrives slowly, quietly, seeping through every small action, every small choice, every moment in which you no longer control the flow of your emotions. The most dangerous part is that you do not realize your mental weakening is not the result of one big event, but the result of hundreds of small drains accumulated each day. Every time you argue with someone unimportant, you withdraw a portion of energy that should have been reserved for your goals. Every time you let a criticism ruin your entire day, you lose your ability to focus on things that matter. Every time you scroll through negative information that throws your mind into chaos, you are allowing the world to determine your energy levels. When you live in this state for a long period, you can no longer tell where your exhaustion truly comes from. You only know you have no strength left, no motivation, no ability to begin what you want, and you assume that is a sign of weakness within you. But the truth is that you have spent your mental energy on places that create no value. The price of emotional overspending does not only affect your mental health but reaches every area of your life. When you waste energy on other people's drama, you lose focus on your own goals. When you pour emotions into unhealthy relationships, you impoverish the relationships that truly deserve your presence. When you overreact to small events, you slow down the progress of your bigger plans. And the most dangerous effect is that you lose clarity in your thinking. A tired mind cannot make wise choices. A mind stretched thin by unconscious emotions cannot see opportunities. A mind controlled by immediate reactions cannot think long-term. This price does not appear on the surface. It appears in how you live every day. You start procrastinating more. You lose patience more easily. You lose confidence in yourself more often. You fall into comparison more frequently. All these are signs of an emotional account running empty. When you allow the outside world to dictate your emotions, you unknowingly hand over the steering wheel of your life to forces you cannot control. When someone's bad behavior ruins your entire day, you allow that person to shape the quality of your life. When a small event causes you to overthink endlessly, you allow it to take more time than it deserves. When unhealthy emotions persist, you turn yourself into a slave of external stimulation. Life begins to lose order when you let emotions be spent unconsciously. Your home becomes cluttered, your work gets delayed, your health gets neglected, your relationships grow heavy. You no longer know what truly matters. You no longer know what you want. You no longer know where you are going. Everything becomes a cycle of chasing chaos instead of building long-term value. But the deepest price is not in time or energy. The deepest price is in losing yourself. When emotions operate unconsciously, you react according to others instead of acting according to your own will. You shift your mood based on how others behave. You shape your actions according to how the world moves. You lose your ability to stand firmly in yourself. You lose the ability to decide what is important. You lose your inner freedom, and without inner freedom, you no longer have the ability to live the life you want. You live in a chain of endless reactions. Each day, you wake up not to create a new life, but to keep dealing with stories you cannot escape. That is when you feel stuck in a loop that drains you more than you ever imagined. This price extends into the future. When you constantly spend emotions on things unworthy, you lose the ability to invest in things worthy. Big dreams get delayed because you have no energy to begin. Important plans get abandoned because your mind cannot keep up. Opportunities appear, but you do not have the spirit to seize them. And over time, you feel your life getting smaller, your potential getting smaller, and even your sense of self shrinking. But this is not the end. This is the moment you realize the price you have been paying and begin to see that you can stop emotional overspending. Change does not begin with a grand action. Change begins when you look directly at the truth that every emotion you spend has a cost. And from the moment you recognize that cost, you step onto the path of reclaiming mastery over your inner world. This is the critical turning point where you no longer let emotions be spent by everything around you and begin learning to preserve your most precious energy for yourself. When mental energy leaks through every small, uncontrolled emotion, the mind begins to enter a weakened state that you can hardly notice in the early days. This weakening does not arrive with a strong blow, but through slow, quiet erosion, subtle and persistent like small streams of water that over time can carve through solid rock. When you let your emotions be consumed by meaningless things, your mind has to work harder to process what brings no value. Every pointless argument, every moment of excessive worry over something small, every time you let someone's opinion shape your mood, you force your nervous system to use its reserve energy just to stay balanced. The nervous system is designed to react only when truly necessary. But when you make it react constantly to minor triggers, it begins to lose its natural sensitivity. Like a machine forced to run at full capacity for too long, it slowly overheats, slows down, and loses efficiency. Your mind is the same. Every time you get tense over something trivial, you reduce your ability to focus for hours that follow. When the brain must process continuous emotional intensity that is not useful, the regions responsible for clear thinking become restricted. This makes you more likely to make poor decisions, lose composure, doubt yourself, and struggle to maintain consistency in your actions. When energy leaks continuously, the mind loses its ability to recover as quickly as before. You begin to feel tired even before doing anything significant. You find it difficult to start your mornings. You become easily distracted by minor details. You get irritated by things that should be easy to ignore. These are signs of a mind that has burned too much energy without time to regenerate. People often assume tiredness comes from overworking, But most fatigue comes from emotions constantly running in alert mode. A mind that is always on guard cannot maintain clarity. When this condition persists, you will clearly see the consequences of mental energy leakage. You begin to procrastinate more because your mind lacks the strength to face tasks. You lose endurance because your nervous system is no longer stable enough to support long-term effort. You give up easily because you feel you have no power left to continue. You think you are lazy, but in reality, you are exhausted. Not exhausted from work, but exhausted from countless moments of unconscious emotional spending. When the mind weakens, you lose the ability to hold moments of silence. Silence becomes uncomfortable because your mind constantly craves stimulation, like someone addicted to sugar, unable to tolerate blandness. You seek noise to fill the emptiness, but the noise drains you again, trapping you in a cycle. This imbalance makes you lose your sense of inner connection. You can no longer hear your true needs. You no longer know what matters. You can no longer distinguish between long-term goals and temporary emotions. A weakened mind makes you vulnerable to distractions that look shiny but are empty. When energy leaks continuously, you also lose your ability to feel life. Beautiful things around you no longer move you the way they once did. Precious moments feel dull. A tired mind cannot enjoy the simplicity of life. It only wants to survive each day, not live fully. And when this state lasts long enough, you start believing your life is becoming dull. But the truth is, your life is not dull. Your mind simply no longer has enough energy to feel its richness. Mental energy leakage also makes it difficult to maintain healthy relationships. When the mind weakens, you react more intensely to the people you love. You lose patience with them. You feel hurt even when no harm was intended. You become more defensive, more sensitive, and more prone to overthinking. This creates tension in relationships, causing you to withdraw or pushing others away, all because you no longer have enough inner strength to stay steady within your emotions. The worst part of mental energy leakage is that it makes you lose trust in yourself. When you repeatedly feel tired, you begin to believe you are not capable. When you can no longer focus, you begin to think you are not smart enough. When you struggle to maintain emotional stability, you begin to think you are unworthy. These negative thoughts do not reflect the truth about you. They reflect the condition of a mind weakened by excessive emotional spending. Losing trust in yourself is the deepest consequence of mental energy leakage. Without trust, you do not dare to step forward. Without stepping forward, you cannot progress. And without progress, you feel stuck in a loop. But every loop has an exit, and the exit from this one is awareness. When you realize that your weakness is not your nature but the result of misplaced emotional spending, you begin to see an opening. You see that you are not weak, you are simply someone who has not yet learned how to preserve energy. You see that you have not lost your ability to move forward. You have simply allowed distractions to steal your strength. And when you see this, you begin to regain control. When you stop letting your mind leak energy over unimportant things, you regain your power bit by bit. Energy returns, focus returns, patience becomes stronger, your ability to feel life becomes deeper. And from here, you begin rebuilding yourself from within rather than from external stimulation. This is the moment you step into the process of recovery, a process that requires absolute honesty with yourself and discipline in every emotional choice. But in return, you regain the strongest thing a human being can possess, a clear, calm, and internally powerful mind, capable of facing life in the strongest way possible. When a person lets emotions lead every action, life slowly turns into a chain of consecutive reactions. You no longer live by choice but by stimulation. You no longer decide your direction but are pushed toward wherever temporary emotions force you to go. The danger is that you do not see this loss of control in a day or two. It appears slowly, very slowly, to the point you start believing it is your personality. You think you get angry easily because you are hot-tempered. You think you cannot focus because you lack discipline. You think you are sensitive because you are weak. But the truth is that you have lived too long in reaction mode and forgotten that you once had the ability to choose how you respond to the world. When living in reaction mode, you lose the ability to create the life you dream of. Every big goal requires persistence. But persistence cannot exist in a mind that is constantly pulled into temporary emotions. When you pour energy into meaningless things, you no longer have the strength to pursue meaningful ones. When you overthink trivial matters, you no longer have mental space to build something greater. And over time, you feel your future shrinking bit by bit. A person living in reaction mode never goes far. They are always putting out fires created by immediate events and no longer have the energy to build long-term foundations. When you are busy reacting to small criticisms, you have no time to improve your skills. When you are busy reacting to other people's drama, you have no strength left to complete your own work. When you are busy worrying about uncertainties, you lose the clarity needed to see opportunities right in front of you. Your life contracts, not because you lack potential, but because you trade that potential for stimuli that bring no value. A mind controlled by reactions is like a boat without a rudder. A small gust of wind is enough to change its course. One negative comment can ruin your entire day. One minor setback can drain your energy for weeks. One person's bad behavior can make you lose your confidence. When living like this for too long, you begin to forget who you are. You no longer know what truly matters. You lose the connection between yourself and your life. You live according to what happens to you, not according to what you choose. A life controlled by reactions makes you lose the ability to maintain long-term direction. You start plans and abandon them halfway because temporary emotions overpower your motivation. You have goals but find it hard to begin because your mind is too tired. You have dreams but keep postponing them because you no longer have the strength to believe you can achieve them. And then you conclude that life is not meant for you, when the truth is that you have spent your life energy on things that never mattered. The most destructive part of reaction mode is not the exhaustion but the gradual loss of belief that you can change. When you cannot control your emotions, you start believing everything in life is out of reach. You stop trying because you think effort changes nothing. You stop setting goals because you think you do not have the strength to pursue them. You stop dreaming because you believe dreams are not for someone who is exhausted. But that feeling is not the truth. It is only the consequence of letting emotions control you for too long, until your mind no longer has the strength to look beyond immediate reaction. When you live in reaction mode for too long, you begin to magnify negative things and overlook positive ones. One criticism stays with you for a lifetime, but a compliment you forget within hours. One small failure crushes you for weeks, but a major achievement is dismissed too quickly. When the mind is tired, it clings to pain because pain creates intensity. And when you let yourself stay attached to pain for too long, you begin to believe life is filled only with bad things. The price of a life controlled by reactions also lies in losing important relationships. When you are easily triggered, you become difficult to connect with. You often misinterpret others. You become defensive even with those who love you. You overreact to small things. This creates distance between you and those who want to stay. You gradually make them feel like they must walk on fragile ground when being around you. And loneliness slowly appears because you no longer have enough inner balance to maintain peace in relationships. But the deepest consequence is the shrinking of your own self. When living in reaction mode, you no longer have time to grow. You do not read because your mind is always chaotic. You do not learn new skills because your head is always heavy. You do not step out of your comfort zone because you have no energy to endure the instability at the start of change. And when you do not grow, your life stands still. But in reality, nothing stands still in life. If you do not move forward, you fall behind. If you do not upgrade yourself, the environment pushes you down. If you do not invest in your inner power, you become someone swept away by the chaos of others. From here, you begin to see the big picture. A life controlled by reactions does not only take away peace, it takes away your future. It erodes your ability to rise. It turns you into someone who lives only for the present moment and never builds tomorrow. But the moment you see this picture, you change. You are no longer naive about small reactions. You see clearly the price you have paid. And when you realize this, you have the chance to shift your life by reclaiming your right to choose, your right to lead, and your right to decide where your energy goes. This is the crucial threshold. Beyond it is the path that leads you to the inner freedom you thought you had lost. Only when you deeply understand the cost of a reactive life will you have the strength to step into the next chapter, where new awareness leads the way, and where you begin rebuilding your life with the power of intention. There is a moment in life when every truth becomes clear like light shining into a dark room. It is the moment you realize that time and emotion are not invisible streams passing through each day, but the two most valuable forms of currency a human being possesses. When this awareness surfaces, you no longer look at life with the same eyes. You begin to realize that not everyone deserves your time. Not every story deserves your emotions. Not every problem deserves the mental energy you must spend to care about it. This is the greatest turning point because it lays the foundation for mastering your life instead of chasing unconscious reactions. When you see time as currency, you begin to understand the truth that each day you are given only a limited amount. Every morning you wake up with a finite reserve of mental energy, and you become the one who decides where that energy will be spent. If you spend it on things that are unworthy, you become spiritually impoverished. If you invest it in valuable things, you become stronger and richer in inner power. The difference between people who succeed and people who remain stuck is not who is more talented, but who protects and manages their emotional energy better. Successful people do not react to everything. They choose to respond only to what truly matters. They do not let the world pull them into chaos. They choose their own rhythm. From here, you begin to realize that emotions are also currency. Every emotion you express is an expense. When you are angry, you spend. When you worry, you spend. When you envy, you spend. When you react to someone's meaningless comment, you spend. And each expense takes away inner strength. A person who does not manage emotions is like someone who spends money without control. They always feel lacking. They always feel exhausted. They are always confused about why they never have enough inner power to build what they want. When you become aware that emotion is currency, you begin examining each of your reactions. You ask whether this emotion is worth spending. The moment you ask that question is the moment you begin to take ownership of your life. In the past, you reacted to everything because you believed emotion was truth. You thought that if you were angry, then the anger must be justified. If you were hurt, someone must be at fault. But when you see emotion as currency, you understand emotion is not truth, but an expense that can be right or wrong, worthy or unworthy. This is the shift in awareness that stops you from using emotions purely on instinct. You begin using emotion as a tool. When you stop spending emotions recklessly, you realize something few people ever tell you. Peace is not a feeling. Peace is the result of selection. Peaceful people are not people without problems. They simply choose not to spend emotions on problems that are not worth it. At this point, you look back at your life and realize that most of what exhausted you was not important. You simply assigned the wrong value to it. You treated other people's stories as if they were your own. You treated negative words as if they were truth. You treated drama as if it were your responsibility. With a shift in awareness, these things no longer carry the same weight. You see that most of what once hurt you were just random moments undeserving of your peace. You see that your past reactions brought no benefit and only drained your energy. You see that relationships that depleted your strength are no longer worthy of holding the central position in your life. This is the point where you reclaim the steering wheel of your life. You are no longer blown around by the wind. you begin choosing your direction. Once you understand that time and emotion are currencies, you begin to understand the difference between spending and investing. Spending is pouring energy into things that bring temporary feelings but no long-term value. Investing is placing energy into things that generate inner strength, new vision, and sustainable growth. Spending is reacting to every stimulus. Investing is choosing what's worthy. Spending is living in reaction. Investing is living in intention. A weak person is not someone without energy. A weak person is someone whose energy is controlled by everything around them. A strong person is not someone without emotion. A strong person is someone who places emotion in the right place. When you enter this awareness, you begin to see another version of yourself, a version that no longer wastes time on meaningless things, a version that knows what truly matters, a version that chooses the right people to walk with, a version that protects peace as a priceless asset. And from here, you begin training yourself to observe before reacting. You begin asking questions before spending emotional energy. You begin discerning what is an investment and what is a drain. This moment marks the true transformation in your life. You no longer live in the darkness of unconscious reaction. You step into the light of intentional awareness. You see that you have the power to choose, and when a human being realizes they have the power to choose, they no longer let life drift in chaos. This is the gateway to the next chapter, a chapter where you begin building your emotional balance sheet and creating the foundation for the life you want to own. This turning point does not only change how you feel about the world, it changes how you exist in it. And every great transformation begins exactly at this moment, when you finally see the truth that time and emotion are the two most valuable currencies you possess. You enter a new stage where you no longer live by reaction, but begin building your own emotional balance sheet. A true balance sheet not only shows you what is draining your energy, but also helps you recognize what is nourishing you. People often believe emotions come and go naturally, but the truth is that emotions operate by the same principles as finance. There are expenses, there are earnings, there are investments, there are losses, there are risks, there are returns. When you view life through this lens, everything becomes clearer. You no longer ask why you are tired. You begin asking where you spent your energy. You no longer ask why you lack motivation. You begin asking where you misplaced your emotions. The emotional balance sheet begins with observing three things. First, what drains you? Second, what nourishes you? Third, what does not belong to you but you carry inside anyway? When you see these three clearly, you gain the ability to transform the quality of your entire life. The first expense you must eliminate is the stories that do not belong to you. When you involve yourself in other people's drama, you are spending on something that generates no future value. When you try to fix someone else's emotions instead of supporting appropriately, you are placing energy into an asset you do not own. When you worry about things beyond your control, you are investing in a guaranteed loss. The emotional balance sheet forces you to face the truth that you have spent far too much emotional currency on things that provide no long-term benefit. The second expense is the repetitive thoughts that trap you in cycles of anxiety. People often mistake overthinking for problem solving, but in reality, most repetitive thoughts are simply loops of fear. When you repeat a negative emotion, you are paying the same bill multiple times. One event happens once, but you pay for it 10 times in emotional pain. This is the type of emotional spending that exhausts you the fastest. The third expense is maintaining relationships that have run out of value. An unhealthy relationship is like a long-lost investment you refuse to sell because you hope it will recover one day. But emotions do not operate on hope. They operate on reality. If someone drains your energy more than they nourish you, the emotional balance sheet shows clearly that this is an asset you must release to protect your inner strength. When you begin eliminating these useless expenses, you reclaim control of your life. But the emotional balance sheet is not only about expenses, it is also about earnings. Earnings come from things that make you stronger. They come from relationships that bring peace and respect. They come from activities that brighten your mind. They come from quiet moments where you reconnect with yourself. They come from the small steps you take daily to become a better version of yourself. These are the earnings that create the foundation of inner power. But the most important part lies in the principle of inner investment. For emotions to yield returns, you must place them where they can expand your future. When you spend time learning, that is an investment. When you train your health, that is an investment. When you build emotional discipline, that is an investment. When you spend time in a peaceful environment to nourish your mind, that is an investment. When you choose kind-hearted people to stay close to, that is an investment. These investments do not give you instant excitement, but they create long-term returns in the form of confidence, calmness, and clarity of thought. There is a crucial principle few people ever tell you. Emotions invested in the right place grow. Emotions spent in the wrong place deplete. When you invest in what nourishes you, you recover more easily. When you spend on what is meaningless, you need far more time to return to balance. The principle of inner investment raises an important question you must learn to ask every day. Is this worthy of my energy? That question becomes the strongest filter to distinguish between wasteful spending and wise investment. When applying this principle, you begin to see clearly why you were tired before. You see that you never lacked energy. You simply did not know how to protect it. You see that you never lacked time. You just spent it poorly. You see that you were never weak. You simply wasted emotions on things that did not matter. And from this awareness, you begin creating true balance. A balance that does not come from avoiding emotions but from managing them. A balance that does not come from shutting out the world but from choosing what is worthy of your openness. A balance that does not come from artificial peace but from deeply understanding yourself and the value of your mental energy. The emotional balance sheet is not a tool to control life rigidly. It is a compass that keeps you from losing your way in chaos. It helps you see clearly what nourishes you, what weakens you, what belongs to you, what must be returned to the world. When this balance sheet becomes a lifestyle, you not only preserve energy but also unlock the ability to live aligned with your true inner strength. And that is the point where you step into the next stage of your journey, where emotional boundaries become the tools that protect the most precious asset within you. Once you clearly see your emotional balance sheet, you step into a stage that most people fear facing, which is establishing boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are gates. A gate with a lock, and you are the only one who decides who gets to enter. But most people do not dare to lock the gate because they fear feeling guilty, fear being misunderstood, fear being seen as selfish. And because of that fear, they leave the door open for everything to come in and spend their energy. Emotional boundaries are where you say enough to what is no longer worthy. When you say enough, you are not pushing anyone out of your life. You are simply placing them back in the position where they belong. Someone who does not respect you does not deserve to stand too close. Someone who only takes and never gives does not deserve an important role. Someone who constantly pulls you into chaos does not deserve your time. When boundaries are set correctly, you do not create division, you create clarity. The first thing you must understand is that boundaries are not about others. Boundaries are about you. Boundaries are how you choose to treat yourself. When you set a boundary, you are telling yourself that you deserve peace and respect. You are saying that your mental energy is a precious asset and no one has the right to spend it carelessly. But boundaries cannot exist unless you learn the art of saying no. Saying no is a skill most people were never taught. They grow up believing that saying no is an act of harm. They believe that refusing means becoming a bad person. They believe they have an obligation to please everyone in order to be loved. But when you always say yes to everything, you are saying no to your own life. When you constantly carry other people's responsibilities, you are abandoning yourself. When you try to be a good person by the world's standards, you lose the ability to live by your own. The art of saying no without guilt begins with honesty. You do not need long explanations. You do not need justification. You only need clarity about what you can give and what you cannot give. When someone demands too much, you say you cannot take more. When someone asks for something that goes against your values, you say you will not participate. When someone wants you to jump into their drama, you say you do not have the energy for that. Saying no is not an act of harming others. Saying no is an act of protecting what you are building. And once you learn this skill, you begin to see that the people who get angry when you set boundaries are the people who benefited from you not having any. Those who respect you will never see your boundaries as a problem. Those who want to control you will see them as resistance. The most important part of establishing boundaries is understanding that boundaries are not declarations but consistent actions. You can say no as many times as you want, but it is meaningless if you still allow people to cross the limits you set. Boundaries do not exist in words. They exist in the actions you take when tested. When someone behaves disrespectfully, you step back. When someone drags you into chaos, you do not react. When someone wants you to solve their problems for them, you do not accept the responsibility. When someone demands something unreasonable, you decline. When you do this consistently, boundaries form automatically and the world begins to adjust to you. Many people fear setting boundaries because they fear losing relationships. But the truth is, you do not lose relationships. You lose unhealthy ones. You do not lose respect. You lose exploitation. You do not lose love. You lose conditional affection. And what you gain back is the mental space to breathe, to grow, and to live according to what you want. Boundaries also help you see who truly deserves to stay. When you are no longer too lenient, sincere people remain. When you no longer serve every request, those who truly love you still feel enough. When you no longer solve every problem, responsible people handle their part. Boundaries do not reduce the love in your life. Boundaries filter out what is not love. Another key point is that boundaries must exist inside you before they appear outside. Internal boundaries are your ability to say no to yourself. No to procrastination. No to excessive control. No to self-harm through negative thoughts. No to trying to please everyone. No to wasting time on things that do not nourish you. When internal boundaries are firm, external boundaries become natural. You do not need to force anything. You just live according to your principles, and the world rearranges itself accordingly. When you establish boundaries and learn the art of saying no without guilt, you do not become cold. You become sovereign. A sovereign person does not need noise to prove their worth. A sovereign person does not need to react to everything to feel alive. A sovereign person knows their time and energy are gold and protects them like a wise investor. When you practice boundaries, you prepare yourself for the next stage of the journey, where you begin reclaiming authority over your life from the places you once gave it away. This is the stage where you gradually step out of the emotional whirlwind of others and begin living a life that truly belongs to you. There is a truth people struggle deeply to accept, which is that you cannot save everyone, not because you are unkind, but because trying to rescue the world is the fastest way to lose yourself. When you are used to rushing into every problem, you believe you are doing the right thing, but in reality, you are spending your mental energy on places that are not your responsibility. You are carrying what others must carry themselves. You are solving lessons they need to learn on their own. You are rescuing emotional storms they must face in order to grow. Every time you do someone else's work for them, you are not helping them. You are only helping them delay their own growth, and worse, you drain the energy you should have used to move your own life forward. When you take on the emotional responsibilities of others, you step into a role you were never meant to bear. You become the container for every story, every sorrow, every chaos that others do not want to confront. They pour into you because they know you will take it. You become the dumping ground for problems no one wants to deal with. But you are not the place for the world to unload its emotional trash. You are not a bottomless well for others to pour their unresolved turmoil into. When you live this way for too long, you start believing that rescuing is love. But love does not drain you to the point you no longer have strength to love yourself. Love does not exhaust you. Love does not make you forget who you are. Love does not turn you into the shield for everyone else's chaos. When you see this truth, you begin to notice how often you unconsciously placed yourself in the role of savior. Many people become rescuers because they fear abandonment. They believe that if they do not help, they will lose their worth. Some do it because they fear disappointing others. Some do it because they were taught that sacrifice is always the right thing. But sacrifice born from fear, not strength, is the very thing that destroys you over time. Stopping the urge to rescue the world is the first step to reclaiming your personal authority. You must understand that everyone has their lessons. Everyone must take responsibility for their choices. Everyone must learn to rise from their own struggles. When you try to carry their lessons for them, you strip them of the opportunity to grow. You do not make them stronger, you make them weaker. And you weaken yourself as well. The most important thing to remember is that your energy is not public property for anyone to use. It is a private asset, and you must protect it with the respect you owe yourself. Reclaiming your personal authority begins with asking yourself new questions every time you feel the urge to intervene in someone else's issue. Is this truly my responsibility? Does this person need help, or do they simply want me to do their work for them? Will this drain my energy excessively? Am I trying to feel important by solving someone else's problem? When you answer these questions honestly, you will see that most of what you do does not come from kindness, but from habitual reaction and the need to feel valuable. And when you see this, you begin to shift. You no longer jump into every conversation. You no longer try to prove you understand more than others. You no longer turn yourself into the shield absorbing everyone's chaos. You begin maintaining healthy distance, not to separate yourself from others, but to stay close to yourself. When you reclaim your personal authority, you understand one thing you never realized before. You are not obligated to solve every problem. You are not obligated to make others happy. You are not obligated to repair what others broke. Adults must take responsibility for the adult part of their lives, and you must take responsibility for yours. When you understand this, you begin doing what you never dared to do before, which is letting people feel the consequences of their own actions. You stop shielding them. You stop sugarcoating things. You stop fixing things for them. You let them take responsibility for their part, and in that moment, you give them the opportunity to grow. Stopping the urge to rescue the world makes you stronger. You gain more energy for your own goals. You gain more time for what nourishes you. You gain more mental space to think clearly. You gain more peace because you no longer carry emotional burdens that are not yours. The most beautiful part is that you begin realizing life does not need you to be a superhero. Life only needs you to be the authority of your own existence. And when you master yourself, you inspire others to do the same. Not through words, through the way you live. When you stand firm, they learn to stand firm. When you take responsibility, they learn to take responsibility. When you stop rescuing them, they begin learning how to rescue themselves. This is the moment you step out of your old role, the role that drained and lost you for so long. This is the moment you return to your true role, the role of the one who leads your own life. And from this point, you gain the foundation to step into the next chapter, where you begin protecting the golden hours of your life and building a deliberate rhythm of living. In the journey of reclaiming inner authority, there is a crucial shift that most people overlook, which is protecting the golden hours of life. Golden hours are not a fixed block of time in the day, but the moments when your mind is sharpest, quietest, and most capable of deep focus. Each person has different golden hours, but everyone has a period when their mental energy reaches its peak. The problem is that most people spend their golden hours on small tasks, random demands, unimportant situations, or stories that do not belong to them. They burn their most valuable energy on things that create no long-term value, then wonder why they have no strength left for their real goals. When you learn to protect your golden hours, you step into an intentional life instead of a reactive one. One protected golden hour is more powerful than 8 hours of distracted work. One golden hour devoted to personal development is more valuable than weeks spent drowning in emotional chaos. To protect your golden hours, you must begin by observing your mind and body. There are moments when your thoughts feel clearer, your focus feels sharper, and your ability to think deeply is stronger. That is when you must prioritize what matters most. Not other people's messages, not sudden requests, not unexpected drama. Prioritize what moves your life forward. People lose their golden hours to trivial things simply because they have no rules for protecting their energy. They reply to messages the moment they hear a notification. They check social media the second an alert pops up. They stop important work just because someone wants them to solve a problem. Each small action is like a drop of water drilling through the foundation of your inner strength. Every drop seems harmless, but over time they create cracks that weaken your entire structure. When you decide to protect your golden hours, you must accept that not every request requires an immediate response. Not every call must be answered. Not every situation needs your reaction. Many things can wait. Many things do not need you right now. Many problems do not require your intervention. But the most important things in your life always need you at your strongest. Your golden hours are the time you move yourself closer to the future you want. No one succeeds by spending their golden hours on what does not matter. No one transforms their life when their golden hours are sliced into fragments of constant reaction. When you protect your golden hours, you send a powerful message to yourself that your life has value. You place yourself in the position of priority. You declare that what you want to build deserves your strongest energy. But beyond protecting your golden hours, you must also learn to build an intentional rhythm of life. An intentional rhythm is not a rigid schedule, but a mental structure that helps you live consciously instead of unconsciously. It begins with choosing what will exist in your day and what will not. Most people let their day be shaped by randomness. They wake up and let the world decide how they will feel. One bad message ruins their morning. One minor inconvenience ruins their day. One unpleasant comment ruins their week. That is the rhythm of someone without sovereignty. An intentional rhythm is the rhythm you choose before the world interferes. You choose quiet time for yourself. You choose the first task of your day. You choose the people you will give your energy to. You choose what you will build. When you create an intentional rhythm, you are no longer pulled into the emotional currents of others. You are no longer drained by random events. You are no longer dragged by the world. You live by your own pace. This rhythm must contain simplicity. People often overestimate the idea that growth requires doing more. But the truth is, growth does not come from doing more. It comes from doing what is right and doing it consistently. An intentional rhythm is built from small choices repeated daily. You set aside non-negotiable time for personal development. You set aside time that cannot be invaded for silence. You set aside time for learning and expanding your mind. You set aside time for relationships that matter. And most importantly, you set aside uninterrupted time to work on what is most meaningful in your life. This rhythm creates the foundation for stability. Stability is not stagnation, but a launchpad for growth. A stable mind can create. A stable life can expand. A stable rhythm keeps you from being swept into chaos. When you build an intentional rhythm, you begin to notice that the things that once drained you no longer affect you as strongly. You do not react instantly to everything. You are no longer pulled around by temporary emotions. You no longer live in defense mode. You become someone who observes before acting. This is the sign that your inner power is returning. You become calmer, clearer, more focused. You hold your energy longer. Life becomes less noisy and more meaningful. You do not chase everything. You choose what is worthy. You do not need to prove anything. You build what is lasting. Protecting your golden hours and building an intentional rhythm does not just change how you live one day. It changes how you live your entire life. It transforms you from someone who chases the world into someone who shapes their own world. And at this point, you are ready to enter the next stage of your journey, where you choose who deserves to step into your inner space and who does not. This becomes the foundation that allows you to keep your inner strength intact in a world full of turbulence. In the journey of reclaiming inner authority, there is a turning point that determines the quality of your life for years to come, and that is choosing who deserves to walk with you. People often underestimate the influence of the relationships around them. They do not understand that their energy, their rhythm of life, and even the direction of their future are shaped not by major events, but by the people they allow into their inner world. When you learn to protect your golden hours, set boundaries, and stop rescuing others, you begin to see life with new eyes. You are no longer controlled by the need for approval. You no longer try to please everyone. You no longer use self-sacrifice to maintain relationships that have already lost their value. This is the moment you must face a question most people are afraid to ask. Who truly deserves my energy? This question is not as cold as many think. It is an act of deep self-love. Because you cannot build a strong life if you surround yourself with people who weaken your inner strength every day. The first thing you must examine is the relationships that drain you instead of nourishing you. A healthy relationship does not make you feel heavy. It does not keep you in constant defense. It does not rob you of your peace. If someone makes you feel like you must walk on fragile ground when you are with them, that is not someone worthy of your mental energy. Many people stay in toxic relationships not out of love but out of familiarity. Familiarity can become a chain that makes you believe leaving is wrong. But you must understand that familiarity does not equal safety. Some things feel familiar but make you weaker. Some people feel familiar but cause you to lose yourself. And when you stay because you fear change, you are trading your future just to maintain a present that is no longer healthy. When choosing who will walk with you, you must look at their energy, not their words. Words can be beautiful, but energy never lies. You will know the truth by observing how you feel after each interaction. If you feel lighter, clearer, calmer, motivated, that is someone to cherish. If you feel tired, doubtful, confused, tense, that is a clear sign that their energy does not align with the path you are building. One of the signs of someone worthy is that they do not drain your inner strength. They do not pull you into drama. They do not make you explain everything. They do not create chaos and expect you to fix it. Instead, they give you space to breathe, to grow, to expand into a better version of yourself. Worthy people never use guilt to control you. They do not make you feel like you must sacrifice yourself to keep them. They do not use disappointment as a tool to force you to change. They understand that love is not possession but respect, and they respect your boundaries, your time, your energy. A worthy relationship always comes with growth. That person makes you think more deeply, live more mindfully, love yourself more. They do not need to solve your problems, but they make you feel strong enough to solve them yourself. They do not walk the path for you, but they make you feel steadier walking it. However, to choose the right people, you must also look at yourself. You must become someone worthy of worthy people. You must learn to treat yourself with the same respect you expect from others. You must learn not to seek attention through your wounds. You must learn not to use emotion as a tool to control others. You must learn to become the kind of energy you want around you. The truth is that you attract what matches your internal frequency. When you live in chaos, you attract chaos. When you chase validation, you attract those who exploit it. When you lack boundaries, you attract those who do not respect boundaries. But when you cultivate inner strength, you attract peace. When you seek meaning, you attract people with depth. When you respect yourself, you attract those who respect you. This is why choosing who walks with you becomes an essential part of building yourself. Because you cannot maintain strong energy if you surround yourself with people who only take and never give. You cannot grow if you stay in environments that force you to shrink to fit in. You cannot go far if you constantly drag people who do not want to move. And you certainly cannot find peace if you are always putting out emotional fires for others. The deepest truth you must understand is that worthy people do not exhaust you. They make you fuller on a spiritual level. They do not make you feel small. They help you see your true value. They do not pull you down. They lift you up. And because of that, you must learn to release those who do not belong. Not because you do not care about them, but because you must care about yourself more. Choosing worthy people is not an act of rejection. It is an act of refinement. You are not eliminating anyone. You are simply choosing who gets to enter your circle of energy. When that circle is refined, your life becomes lighter, clearer, stronger. Your energy is no longer drained meaninglessly. You no longer have to justify your boundaries. You no longer have to solve other people's problems. You no longer have to lose yourself to keep someone else. This becomes the foundation for your next chapter, where you learn to build an environment that nourishes your mind and elevates your entire inner life. An environment quiet enough for you to hear your inner voice, clear enough for you to see your direction, strong enough for you to build the future you deserve. After you have chosen the people who are worthy, the next phase of your journey is creating a living environment that is clear enough, quiet enough, and strong enough to nourish the peace within you. People often underestimate the influence of environment, but environment is the foundation that shapes your entire mental state. No one can maintain inner peace in a space full of chaos. No one can sustain deep focus in an environment overflowing with noise. No one can build inner strength in an atmosphere that constantly triggers fear and anxiety. Environment is not just the place you live. Environment is the energetic field surrounding you, the rhythm of life you interact with every day, the emotional frequency of what you allow into your mind. When you understand this, you will see that building the right environment is one of the most transformative acts you can take. The first thing you must do is create clarity in your physical space. A cluttered room is not just a matter of objects, it is the reflection of an overloaded mind. Every unnecessary item is a piece of energy that subtracts from your clarity. When you remove things that no longer belong, you send a signal to your mind that you are making room for the new. A clean physical space creates a spacious mental space, but physical space is only a small part of environment. The mental environment matters even more. You must observe the information you consume each day. Every negative post, every argument, every stimulating piece of content makes your nervous system vibrate at an uncomfortable frequency. If you begin your day with such chaos, you are programming your brain to operate in defense mode rather than clarity. Filtering information is not avoidance. It is protection. You do not need to consume everything to be informed. You only need to consume what aligns with the journey you are building. The next part of environment is your rhythm of life. A healthy environment cannot exist within a chaotic schedule. If you constantly wake up in disorder, you will live the entire day in disorder. If you do not create a quiet moment to begin your morning, you will easily get swept into the emotional currents of the world. Every person needs a ritual that shapes their energy for the day. It could be a few minutes of silence. It could be writing. It could be time for deep thinking. What matters is not what you do, but that you do it to bring your mind into a proactive rather than reactive state. When you create an intentional rhythm, your surrounding environment becomes clearer. You begin to notice what aligns with your energy and what does not. You stop getting pulled into trivial things. You stop reacting instinctively. You become an observer before allowing anything to enter your mind. But a nurturing environment is not built on silence alone. It is also built on what you bring into your life to enrich your inner strength. A nourishing environment needs enriching mental ingredients. Good books, good sounds, good thinking, meaningful conversations, reflective moments, time in nature, activities that allow you to feel life. When these elements exist in your space, your mind becomes abundant. You no longer need drama to feel alive. You no longer need intense stimulation to feel something. You live by depth rather than noise. The right environment needs a balance between stillness and movement. You need stillness to restore energy, but you also need movement to expand your life. Movement here is not chasing chaos, but intentional action such as learning, deep work, physical training, and skill building. When stillness and movement blend, you create a natural rhythm that supports long-term strength. You must understand that environment not only influences your mind but also determines the quality of your choices. A noisy environment leads to wrong choices. A negative environment leads to false beliefs. A chaotic environment leads to misaligned living. But a quiet environment helps you see what is essential. A positive environment helps you believe in your capabilities. A structured environment helps you live with depth and awareness. When you build a nurturing environment, you create the foundation for consistency. No one changes their life through a single breakthrough without foundation. No one can maintain inner strength if their environment constantly drags their energy down. No one can become powerful if they live in a space that keeps their mind in constant activation. When the environment is right, you do not have to struggle to stay peaceful. When the environment is right, you do not have to fight yourself to focus. When the environment is right, good things come more easily. Not because you are lucky, but because you are no longer sabotaging yourself. The right environment multiplies your inner efforts. You spend less energy on unnecessary battles and more energy on your growth. Another important truth is that your environment must reflect where you are going. If you want to grow but surround yourself with sensational noise, you will be pulled down. If you want peace but keep yourself in chaos, you will stay tense. If you want focus but live in distraction, you will struggle endlessly. Environment is a mirror of your future. To know who someone will become, simply observe the environment they live in consistently for a few months. When you build a nurturing environment, you rewrite your future in the quietest yet most powerful way. You enter each day with lightness. You work with focus. You think with clarity. You communicate with calmness. From that point on, every area of your life upgrades. This stage elevates you into a new level of awareness, where you not only preserve inner strength but expand it. And from this foundation, you prepare to step into the next chapter, where your identity is rebuilt and you begin to form a stronger, deeper, and freer version of yourself. When your environment has been purified, when relationships that no longer belong have left, and when your energy is no longer drained by stories that are not yours to carry, a profound process begins within you. It is the reconstruction of the self. This is not an external change. This is a restructuring at the root, where you revisit old beliefs, old reactions, old wounds, and decide which version of you will step into the future. Not everyone reaches this stage because it requires courage. Reconstructing the self means daring to look at things you once believed were truth but were merely dust layered on the mind from years of living in reaction. It means daring to release beliefs that once protected you but now limit you. It means daring to ask yourself the question most people never ask. Am I living as the person I want to become, or as the person the world conditioned me to be? Reconstructing the self begins with recognizing that the person you thought you were is not your true nature. Your true nature is what remains when the noise of society is removed, when the pressure to be perfect falls away, when other people's expectations stop controlling you, when unconscious reactions are seen clearly, when the voices inside your mind are no longer driven by fear. Your old identity was born from self-protection. You reacted strongly to criticism because you were once hurt as a child. You tried to please everyone because you were once afraid of being abandoned. You lived in vigilance because you once felt unsafe. You created a false version of yourself to be accepted, but once you have journeyed inward, you begin to realize that the old identity no longer fits the life you want to build. Reconstructing the self means you no longer let old reactions dictate your actions. You no longer live by the momentum of fear. You no longer use protection as a wall but as a compass. You no longer choose what is safe but what is right. And you begin building a new identity. A version not based on what once hurt you but on what now strengthens you. Your new identity does not brace against the world. It stands firm in it. It does not seek acceptance from the outside. It creates value from within. It does not react to chaos. It focuses on what is essential. It does not cling to the old. It opens itself to what is worthy. The reconstruction of the self rests on three essential pillars. The first pillar is inner honesty. You no longer hide truth from yourself. When you are weak, you admit your weakness to grow stronger instead of pretending strength and continuing to burn out. When you are wrong, you admit you are wrong so you can correct yourself rather than finding excuses to avoid responsibility. When you are afraid, you acknowledge the fear so you can dialogue with it instead of letting it drive your decisions. Inner honesty is the first step that allows the old identity to collapse so the new one can be formed. The second pillar is self-responsibility. You no longer blame circumstances, people, or the past. You recognize that every reaction and every choice is yours. When you reclaim responsibility, you reclaim authority. When you accept your part, you stop living as a victim and step into the role of the one steering your own life. This is the moment true maturity begins. The third pillar is continuous re-choosing. A new identity is not built in a single day. It is built through small choices repeated over time. Every time you choose calm instead of reacting, you are building the new identity. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you are building the new identity. Every time you choose to reject what is unworthy, you are building the new identity. Every time you choose truth over pleasing others, you are building the new identity. Every time you choose the harder right path over the easier wrong one, you strengthen the new identity. Over time, these choices become who you are. The new identity is not a mask, but an inner strength. It does not announce itself loudly. It stands firm in silence. It does not need validation. It knows its own worth. It does not need to win every argument. It only needs to protect its peace. It does not seek love at any cost. It chooses to stay close to those who know how to love with respect. As the new identity forms, you begin experiencing life differently. Things that once triggered anger no longer touch you. People who once drained you can no longer enter your mental space. Situations that once overwhelmed you no longer shake you. You no longer live in survival mode but in creative mode. You no longer get pulled by chaotic rhythms. You create your own rhythm. One of the clearest signs of a new identity is that you begin preserving energy instead of leaking it. You do not react to every stimulus. You do not care about every opinion. You do not try to prove yourself. You understand that steadiness does not come from noise but from depth. You understand that inner strength does not come from praise but from discipline. You understand that freedom does not come from doing everything but from not being controlled by anything. When the new identity is established, you begin living as someone anchored. Someone who is not shaken by careless words, not dragged by transient emotions, not bound by the expectations of others, not guided by fear. You move with clarity, focus, and calmness. And from here, life opens in ways it never could before. Not because the world changes, but because you change the way you walk into it. And it is this reconstruction of the self that opens the final chapter of the journey, where you begin integrating everything you have learned to build a sustainable foundation for your future. When you reach the end of this journey, you stand before an undeniable truth. Life does not change through explosive moments. It changes through the quiet accumulation of awareness and discipline. Everything you have gone through is not a collection of scattered fragments, but bricks laid one by one into the foundation of a new life. You have learned to see where your energy leaks. Learn to set boundaries. Learn to stop rescuing the world. Learn to protect your golden hours. Learn to build the right environment. Learn to choose worthy people. And learn to reconstruct your identity. And from all of this, a solid foundation has taken shape beneath your feet. This is a foundation that cannot be taken away by someone's opinion. It cannot be shaken by drama. It cannot be broken by sudden disruptions. It cannot be controlled by temporary emotions. This is a foundation you built yourself with awareness and with daily choices. When this foundation is in place, you begin experiencing life differently. You no longer look at the future with fear but with clarity. You no longer walk with uncertainty but with stability. You no longer live being pulled by everything around you but live by choosing your direction. You no longer lose energy to chaos but preserve it for what matters long term. A powerful life is not a life without challenges. It is a life in which challenges no longer have the power to define you. And that is what you have built. You no longer collapse over small things. You no longer feel wounded by what is meaningless. You no longer get controlled by assumptions. You no longer get dragged into someone else's rhythm. You stand in your own rhythm. One of the clearest signs that your foundation has been rebuilt is that you begin to see doors you could not see before. Not because they just opened, but because your mind is now quiet enough to recognize them. You see opportunities once hidden by chaos. You see paths once buried under fear. You see possibilities once blocked by emotional exhaustion. And you see a version of yourself you never believed you could become. When the foundation is restored, you no longer run from yourself. You no longer pretend to be strong. You no longer use noise to mask insecurity. You no longer seek acceptance from the outside. You become someone who knows their worth and walks with the understanding that inner strength is the most valuable asset. This journey does not end here. This is only the final chapter of the rebuilding stage, and also the first chapter of a new life. A life in which you no longer spend emotions unconsciously, but use them as a strategic resource. A life in which you are no longer pulled downward, but continuously lifted upward by intentional choices. A life in which you become the one leading yourself instead of the one chasing emotions. If there is one promise this journey gives you, it is inner freedom. Freedom does not come from having everything you want. It comes from no longer being controlled by what is unworthy. And from this moment forward, you step into the future as the owner of your life. Not through noise, not through display, but through the deep calm of someone who knows who they are and knows exactly which road is worthy to walk next. You have reached the end of the journey, and if you are still here, it means a part of you is truly ready to reclaim the authority of your inner world. Everything you just heard is not merely a story. It is a map that shows you where your energy has been leaking, how to set boundaries, how to stop rescuing the world, how to protect your golden hours, how to build the right environment, how to choose the people who deserve your presence, and how to rebuild your identity to become the strongest version of yourself. Life does not change because of one lucky moment. It changes when you begin selecting what is worthy of your emotions, when you preserve your energy for long-term goals, and when you move forward with the clarity of someone who truly understands themselves. Thank you for staying until the end. It means you are not here just to listen, but to transform. If this journey spoke to you, leave a like, share this video with those you want to uplift, and subscribe to the channel so you can continue walking with the stories that help rebuild your inner strength every day. I'll see you in the next chapter.